you can see and hear us, go ahead and say hi in the comments, introduce yourself, let us know you're here. You're live with John and Travis and Mike, who we'll be introducing here in a second. But hopefully you guys, if you're new to the group, welcome. We go live every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. If you've been in the group a while, you probably figured out it's every Monday at 2 p.m. So if you can see us and you can hear us, just go ahead and leave us a like, give us some type of emoji or a hi in the chat. Gets us pumped up. More people are in there, just like for your guys' classes, just the energy level helps us. And if you're on with us live, go ahead and type live in the chat that you're here live, so we can see that your name pops up. And if you're watching the replay, if you've ever watched a replay before, you notice that John and I will always jump in and get engaged. So if you're watching the replay, go ahead and just type replay in the chat right now, and we will make sure we get engaged with you. It sends a little notification to us. We get excited when people get to check this out after the fact as well. So we're really excited about today. I'm pumped up about today. I talked to Mike a long time ago, who has, again, he's this good-looking young guy here right next to us. Going to introduce in a sec. But I remember when I talked to Mike, just hanging up the phone and being so excited because I knew where things were going to go from that phone call. So I'm pumped up to be able to engage and ask some questions and learn about his process. So if you're here, go ahead and type live. If you're watching the replay, just go ahead and type replay. But we got Mike, is it Pursel? Mike Pursel of Spokane. He's out in Washington, Spokane Wrestling. You might say, wait a minute.
Spokane, come on, you sound like an Easterner. Spokane Wrestling. Yeah.
I'm on the good side.
Yeah.
Where the time zone means something over here.
Right.
But you guys might say, well, hey, Mike's from Spokane Wrestling, and this is Get Karate Students Group. And that's a really cool thing that we're going to be talking about today. Because what we're going to talk about is how he was able to quit his soul-crushing job. And when I say soul-crushing job, when I talked to you, Mike, that first time, I could hear it in your voice.
Yep.
How it was dragging you down, and how you were able to quit that as a truck driver and transform your personal life, your professional life, and really get things on track very quickly. From what I remember, it being a quick turnaround. I think you were looking to get engaged at the time, or you just got engaged at the time. And you're like, look, I can't be a truck driver and take care of a family. And maybe you're not driving trucks, but maybe you're working 80 hours a week if you're on the live stream, and you can kind of relate to, hey, I want more time with my family. I want my life kind of in my control. So you may have been in the same boat. So we thought it'd be great to get Mike on today and share his story. So comment if you can hear and see, and go ahead and type in live or replay. And John will be, usually I'm doing the comments, but John will be digging into the comments probably here today. I wanted to kind of ask you all now, and then we'll get into Mike's story, but really, who out there would really love to just get a flow of new students in the door consistently signing up? And we're talking about every day you come in, you have your schedule there. John would love new students.
I want new students.
Just a flow of consistency where it's not just hit and miss. It's just, hey, that's just part of your school, getting people in the door regularly. And who out there has tried posting relentlessly, or going on every platform, or hired an agency, or been marching in parades, or going to the public schools, or doing demos and fairs and community events, the birthday parties, or worse, doing Facebook ads on your own, or boosting posts, and just looking back a week later and saying, hey, I spent that money on nothing. And, a lot of times those types of things probably have you feeling stuck or frustrated, and not getting those new students on the mat really just kind of makes you feel like, well, what am I even doing here? And maybe you're ready for a change. And that's basically what, some of the things that Mike was dealing with before finding us. And I'm going to let him share exactly what impacted his school specifically. But go in the comments now. If that's something, just raise your hand or say, been there, done that, or that's me. I think you'll find that, we have over 1,500 people in this group, and a majority of them have experienced that. So go in the comments if you've done that before, if you're just frustrated with the growth and you're not getting new students consistently, or you're kind of really struggling, to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and how can I do something that works more consistently. Just tell us in the comments if that's something that you've struggled with, or, hey, maybe you tried something that works before, or you've tried anything. Go ahead in the chat and just get engaged with what's going on there. But maybe you tried posting relentlessly on every platform and doing all the things we talked about. What else have you tried? Just share that there in the chat. And then it seems like everyone, we got some comments here, get people engaged, they can hear. So let's start off. Mike, how's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I've been pumped. I've been pumped to talk to you. I think about a week or two ago, we shot you a message and asked if you'd be willing to do an interview. And really, all week I've been pumped because, I just remember, I remember your story. So I don't want to spill the beans. I don't want to kind of steal your thunder. Really, we're here to officially celebrate kind of how you were able to, not kind of, how you literally quit your soul crushing job as a truck driver and then transform your personal, your professional life. And I can't wait to ask you how that feels later on the call, but go ahead and introduce yourself and just kind of share some of your story, your backstory, and we'll dive into the meat of kind of the interview and give some insight how fast things can change. So go ahead, just give everybody an idea who we're talking to.
So I'm in college and I get this phone call that the club that I grew up in, they don't have a coach anymore. So they're going to shut it down. The club I was a part of was a community outreach program. I, got to do it for free. It was all volunteer based. And so it's just something that had transformed my life. And, wrestling, martial arts is just something that helps everyone transform their life. And so I wanted to give back to the community. Now, fast forward, 13 years, my club, Spokane Wrestling, had grown to the point to where, we're going to competitions, we're competing, but I was still able to maintain that $0, everything. Everything was, sponsorships and given to us through the community. Then COVID happened and it shut everything down. And so I had all these kids that needed a home. And so as a group and as a community, we came together and we were able to secure a location. But then, with a location comes overhead. You need insurance, you need, to pay the lease, you need to keep the lights on. I mean, just everything that came with a business that I wasn't expecting got dumped in my lap. And so at the time I started truck driving. And so I thought, hey, I can drive truck and I can afford this, it was a hobby, afford this hobby and keep doing what I loved and coaching. And as I learned real quick, it's really hard to balance a business and balance, balance a 40-hour, plus a week job. And truck driving just takes a lot out of you, beyond just, dropping my loads and stuff. And going from one dock to another, I had to actually unload the truck sometimes, and all I had was a hand cart. So I'm doing 53-foot trailers by myself and just moving everything. And so it was soul crushing. It was hard to wake up every morning and keep that smile on my face. And I knew something had to change. And so I had researched a couple other groups. Really just, I figured if I was going to take my wrestling and make it into something, worthwhile like it is now, I had to do it right. You don't just learn how to do, flying kicks or doing all the crazy moves without learning the foundational things of your martial art or your wrestling. And so I decided that I had to approach this in the same manner. And so the first step is really just building a solid foundation. And so then I stumbled across you guys. I saw your ad on Facebook and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And you sent me the free material to read. And you gave me that first video and just kind of that back and forth I had with you, Travis. And I realized that there was something to be learned here. And really, I guess the big turning point for me in this whole process was realizing that I didn't know what I was doing. And there was people out there that did know what they were doing. And like a student to a master, I had to, humble myself and realize I know what the process is, but I don't actually know what the process is. And so I put my faith in you guys and it works. If you actually follow the process, it works. And that's kind of why we're here today, is that the process works. And I don't know how many more times I could say that, because I'm ecstatic. I get excited talking about it because I know where I was, 6 months ago to where I am now. And it's like, wow, it's night and day. I got a fiance now, like you said. Her whole thing was, you got 1 year to make this work, because she knows, understands my passion. She's like, you got 1 year to make this work, and if it works, great, that can be your career. If not, if you want to marry me, you got to have, there's truck driving. It's like, understood. Motivation.
it was kind of like a fork in the road. Like, hey, I better make this work, or I'm going to be doing that soul crushing job for death do me
Yeah.
part kind of thing.
Or back to the drawing board. But, I would rather do what I love and never work a day in my life. And this is right now, making it happen. And I can't be anymore, and just enamored and blessed. So
So how long were you stuck at? Because I think a lot of people can relate to that. And if you can relate to that story of, hey, I took over my school from my mentor or someone above me, and they were either leaving or they encouraged me, they saw something in me to take over or start my own school, but no one told me the business aspects of what that meant. How long were you kind of stuck at that break even point where it was a hobby, as you kind of described it?
I mean, that before the start of COVID, so probably beginning of 2019, maybe middle of like 2018, over the summer. We had just been able to acquire a brand new wrestling match, which, that's like buying a new car. We're making payments, and it's like I have to have, money coming in, sponsorships and everything else. And that would probably be the point where I really felt like, oh man, this might be more than what I was expecting to take on, because now there's an actual, liability. There's, this bill that has to be paid every month, or I lose, everything that I've worked for up to this point. And
Right. And I'm sure that can get kind of overwhelming, right? If things aren't going off the way they are, it can kind of weigh on you as you do everything. Kind of gets you. It's hard to see what's possible, or it's hard to see kind of down the road because you're so focused on the here and now. And I got to make these bills paid.
I mean, it's kind of like carrying a 50-pound backpack. You throw it on your back and you're walking with it all the time. But when you finally get to take it off and you catch up on your bills, let's say, you're like, oh man, that's great. And then 2 weeks later, the bills come due again. And you're like, oh, here comes back, this backpack, and
Put it back on.
yeah.
So, I mean, I know you're confident in your curriculum and what you're teaching your students, but there were definitely some holes in the strategy of how you were trying to go about growing.
Mm-hmm.
How are you treating your marketing and your growth before you found us? And then we'll kind of talk about some of the shifts that were happening. So basically, how were you getting new students when you started working with us? Like, what was your strategy prior to that?
So here in Spokane, we have our Spokane school district. And so I was like, well, there's my targeted audience, kids. And like every, unique niche market, there came a price tag. And so I paid that money, and I tried to get those parents to look at my flyer, and I tried to make it colorful, and I tried to, make it kid friendly. And in the end, those flyers made it into the trash, and all that money, that trash or paper airplanes. I hope that they're creative. But I just, all that money was thrown away, and there was no return on my investment. And that was the big thing is every time I did that, the first time I was very optimistic, and then the second time, your soul's crushed a little bit more. And by the third time, I'm like, if I can get 3 people to respond to this, I guess. And then you get no response, and it stank. On top of that, I did word of mouth. A lot of my parents would take videos and send it to their friends, and social media has been helpful in that respect. But even then, if you just think of the power of how many eyeballs are going to see what the other people post, it doesn't, the magnitude that you need to make that equation work. I mean, maybe it would work in New York City if I had enough people, to share and everything. But a place like Spokane, word of mouth just wasn't making it happen either. But again, like, God provides in unique ways. And so he gave me just enough to get by, but he's like, you got to do the rest. I'm going to, and now this is where we're at now. You have to figure out what tools work best for you, and then, use the tools given to you. It's awesome. A process.
Right. Yeah. God's a God of action, but sometimes I think the actions we take, we don't know if it's right or not. We're kind of just guessing or kind of hoping that, hey, maybe, I guess this is what I'll do. Yep. And for anyone kind of looking on the outside in, what we really help Mike with is really not just throwing out a bunch of kind of random ideas or stuff or things that we heard of, or maybe this would work somewhere else kind of thing, but really just trying to, get away from this, get my name out there, and have a more strategic approach it's a step-by-step process that really can kind of take someone from being a complete stranger and help them along a path to make little tiny micro commitments to then just get in the door and become a fully enrolled paying student. And that's really what Mike's been able to tap into. And he's really a great example of someone that, as he started off with, and you guys have heard a lot of interviews, everyone kind of start, and we don't tell anybody to say this, but going through a process they can follow, a step-by-step process, and then really adapt and fit it to your culture and your niche. And we hear this a lot, right? We hear a lot of, we're called Get Karate students as an organization, but I mean, that's Kempo, that's jujitsu, that's all these different things. And if anybody's sitting there saying, well, that works for these people in these areas, or that works for these people that teach this, it doesn't work. Hey, Spokane, right? That's better. Spokane, not a large area. And Mike's coaching wrestling. Like if you want to talk about two individual things, and it's working, honestly, in some areas, even better for you than other things. So, I mean, if you can get there in a very short period of time, there's really no reason someone can't follow the same process and get where they're trying to go. So I wanted to get into that process because really you've been running ads, and I don't know if any of you have tried running ads before, and it not worked. But we've really helped you kind of tap into that. And my first question about that is, when you were doing all this stuff to try to get students before, do you feel like you were doing more, like working more hours than the time you put in now for your marketing?
Oh, yeah. There's a major time commitment. I remember sitting there. I would have like my coffee. I'll be eating dinner, and I would be sitting there just staring at a computer screen with a post on Facebook, and it would be, "Hey kids, come check out. Hey parents, come check out our stuff." And then this is whatever special we got going on for the month, and it's $15. Just $15. Get through the door. Like I was begging, and I'm staring at this post for about an hour's time, waiting to hit send or to post it, and thinking, okay, is this the wording I want? Is this is there enough spacing? Where's all, just nitpicking my own thing. A post is a post, and I was putting all this time and energy and just precedence on this one little thing that somehow is going to make or break my business. And I guess in the scheme of things, my anxiety and my lack of understanding was my biggest hold up in my ability to progress and go forward. Once I actually understood the game, once someone like you guys were able to sit down and be like, hey, you see it from the outside looking in, but you don't actually understand it. Anyone can throw a punch, but can you actually punch correctly? We all understand what it's supposed to look like, but is it actually the right technique? And that's what you guys were able to do with me, was just, slow my roll, slow down the process. Like everyone knows how to make a post, but can you make it correctly? Everyone knows how to, boost a post, but is it boosted correctly? Are you hitting your targeted audience? Is it, all these different things of the, again, how to throw a punch or a kick, but do you actually know how to throw a punch or a kick? It just comes with the mastery and the time and the, and you have to put that effort in. And if you understand, that process of learning and development, once you get to a certain point, you can jump out of the nest and soar on your own. And that's basically what I did. And, but you have to be willing to take that risk and be willing to put your skepticism aside and actually just accept that you don't know everything. You have to get out of your own way.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, you just have to get out of your own way.
Right. So it sounds like not only has the time been helpful, but I hear you, and I actually haven't heard anybody say this before, but we know it's an effect, just the anxiety and the stress of like, just that mental anguish of, is this the right thing to do, has been kind of erased by dropping that bag, that 50-pound bag that you're talking about, and just going about your business. So we've kind of talked about having a strategy. It's not just about lead generation, but also making sure that people can become part of the school and follow up and enroll. Now I really wanted to kind of get into being very intentional about the time you spend and really knowing your numbers and really what to expect. When you spent money on advertising in the past, or even time, because sometimes we focus on, well, I've never spent money on ads, so it's not costing me anything to get students. Well, if you're spending hours doing something, that's costing you something, right? So when you've done marketing in the past, did you have any detailed way to really measure the success of whether it be something free that you're doing to get students or something paid? Did you have any way to measure how those things were actually getting a return for your school?
Yeah, it was pretty simple. I looked at my checkbook, and if I made my money back, I was like, oh, this worked. And rarely did I ever actually hit that even break even mark. I was always in the red. And I mean, just right out of the gate with your guys' program, I was automatically in the black. And I guess that right there, it just made sense to me. I was like, oh, okay, well, even if this isn't the best thing in the world, it's better than what I'm doing right now. And so if it's bringing the results, you got to start somewhere. And that's, and so I couldn't be happier. And the more I look at it, the more I'm like, this is the right thing. This, I found my golden ticket, and so, but yeah, no, definitely a measurable way to see what I've spent to what I brought back in. And it was very easy to come up with those numbers. It all makes sense. Once you understand the equation, it all makes sense. I don't know how else to sell it to you guys out there in Facebook land, but once you understand it, that's the thing. It's once you understand it, it works. And then the world is your your oyster. So
it's like the Matrix. No one can show you the Matrix. You have to experience the Matrix, right?
I mean, it is like, and then afterwards you're like, I should have had a V8, because you're like, wow, how did I miss all this? Like, once and that's the thing. You guys have made it into a way that is so just easy to understand and easy to digest, that now I'm not really focusing on my marketing as much as I'm focusing on my curriculum. And now I can actually create an even better product. And so that's the direction I'm going now. And so it's awesome. Like I mean, if I could hug you guys through the screen, I would, but I can't, because that's just, my life is blessed and I'm, doing really well. And it's I'm definitely going to give credit where credit's due. It's because of your guys' program. And this is great.
Well, and kind of to that, I mean, there's credit your way, right? Because I mean, you put yourself out there, right? You're a master at what you do. You're a great teacher. You care about your kids, your students, your school. But you kind of mentioned it earlier that you made a decision to say, hey, you know what? I don't know what I don't know, and kind of humble yourself to say, not only do I need to seek experts, which you mentioned earlier, but also when those experts give me a process to follow, I need to do exactly what they told me to do, and not just say, well, that doesn't apply to me, or that, and it's beautiful to watch when someone puts something together and see those results. And if you've ever kind of tried other things and it didn't work, go ahead and put it in the comments. If you've ever tried something that, it didn't work in the past and it kind of discouraged you, go ahead and comment. Because I think, Mike has said he's tried those things and they didn't work before. But I'm kind of curious for you, what was it about Get Karate students? Because again, you own a wrestling school. What it must have been something about Get Karate students. Maybe saw some of our training or one of our ads or saw content. What kind of tipped the scale to say, you know what, this is something that I'm going to apply. The student magnet is something that I'm going to apply to my school. What was the thing that made you say, yes, Travis, here's my payment info. I'm ready to do this. This is what's going to get me on the path that my fiance needs me on, so I don't have to drive that stinking truck.
Well, honestly, I would say the moment that tipped the scale and I was like, you know what, I'm going to make the jump. It was actually our conversation, Travis. Because I saw the videos, I saw the training, I was actually able to take what you guys gave me for free and automatically apply it. And I saw the immediate response. The people, my customers, my family now, they signed up. I was able to reword what I was saying to them and reposition my message and readdress it to them. And they had a very different response. They were positive. They wanted to join. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. And when I saw that click, before it was, hey, I got to sell you, and here's another, little thing and another little thing, and hey, look at how great we are. And, I didn't have to. It was right there. And then we had our conversation. I asked you point blank, will you help me? Like if I call you up, and I'm like, hey man, I have a problem, will you answer? And you're like, yeah, that's what we're here for. And I believed you. And then I've had to call you a bunch of times for a bunch of, just random questions like, hey, and that bounce back and forth, thing that we would do. And it works. And like you said before, I mean, we're wrestling, we're something different. But yet The reason why people are signing up, the reason why people are saying yes, isn't because, they want to be wrestlers. It's because they actually see the value. And you've helped me be able to accurately portray my value, through the means of which, I communicate and stuff and get out there. And that's the powerful part. Like, we all understand, like, we're masters at our own, whatever it is. But how do we have other people understand our value? And you've, taught, from the very beginning, how to expose, or not expose, but show that value. And yeah, like that conversation though, like that we had, you made me feel like I was, valuable. And in return, I was like, hey, this is exactly what I did with my parents. And it works. Like, now I know exactly how they feel. And then you followed through, like you were a man of your word, and it was awesome. It wasn't just a sales pitch.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. That's awesome. It's great when you don't have to sell people stuff. When they say, hey, Mike, how do we get started? Or what do we need to do to get started? Or yeah, let's do it. It just is like, wow. Like, it's just because now you get to do what you want to do, right? You don't have to get on this salesman hat. You can just have a conversation. I'm really curious, how many, I'm digging into some numbers here next, how many students you've enrolled, revenue wise. But before you share all that, there's a lot of people on this right now. And I just want to know if you're inspired by this story. Maybe it's you're doing a full-time job and you want to do, your school full-time, or maybe you've been there, done that. Like, just type inspired in the comments. I'm always inspired when we hear about life change, because see that little cough. That's what I get really excited when we hear stories about, hey, someone was on one path and then they moved to another. That's what gets me fired up. And I'm sure as teachers and coaches and instructors, you get inspired about that with your students. So if you're inspired about Mike's story, go ahead and type inspired in the comments right now. If you're like, wow, this is just awesome. Because really that's why we do these. We talk a lot about how our program works, but the whole goal of these interviews is really just to inspire you. Because these are really school owners that are great at what they do. And then they just implemented a simple process that literally anybody can do, and really just get success from. And we want to get you motivated about what's possible. So if you're live on this right now, or even if you're on the replay, just type inspired in the comments right now. Show Mike some love too. I mean, he's really busy with all his new students, so he's taking that time. So go ahead and type inspired, even if you're on the replay. But kind of back to you, Mike. How many students where were you when we talked a few months ago, enrollment wise? And then how many students have you enrolled since then? And then how much revenue do you think that's kind of generated for you total?
When we spoke, when I signed up, I think I told you that I had just spent $1,000 out of my own pocket to make, everything balance again for the business. And I was like, I can't be doing this. This hurts. Like, spending $1,000 and having to cut that check, that hurt. Because it should never be like that. That first month, I ended up being able to make up the difference and then pay myself back that $1,000 the next month, because it all just carries over. I was able to basically double that. I went from 17 kids all the way up to, I want to say right now we're at 55. And the problem that I'm having right now is I just don't have enough class times. And so I'm trying to make more class times, but I'm one guy. So, it gets hard. But I went from, just the 17 all the way up to 55 right now. And I mean, not going into specific numbers, but like the math is there. And that was over the course of about 5, almost 6 months. And just, it slowly scales. But as that snowball gets bigger, as long as you're doing it right, the ball will continue to stay large. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing to understand. You just have to take the time to go from start to finish and actually follow it all the way through. And once you understand it, the snowball effect is there.
I love that, man. That's awesome. So we basically tripled our enrollment in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that got me fired up. I think I called John right away, or John and I might've been like a Bible study that night or something when you posted this in our group. You posted that you were able to quit your job and focus on the wrestling school full time. How long after you started using the student magnet program were you able to quit that soul sucking job that you had? and do this and do this full time?
Let's see. I'm going to say probably 4.5 months. It was actually uh, halfway through that month. And I was just, there's a couple holidays coming up and Christmas and New Year's. And I was a new fiance and with a beautiful bride to be. I wanted to spend that time with her and the family. And it was just it was a conversation where I sat her down. I was like, let me show you, open up the computer. Let me open up the program. Here's my money. Like it's coming in. I'm not lying. It's right here. Let me show you. Can I quit? And she's like, if you think you can make this, and I was, yeah, confidently, yes. It's right there. It's spelled out. So like you're saying, to be able to track the finances, yeah, it's right in front of you. You see it real time, and it's amazing to see that number get bigger, because big numbers are fun. And I couldn't be more happy, more blessed than I am right now. I mean, but there's still a whole nother year to go through. So we'll see where we go. But
yeah. That's all. I didn't even realize, I didn't ever made the connection that was right around the holidays. I imagine you probably would have been driving the truck quite a bit around the holidays, but
yeah,
this past holiday, you were able to spend it with your family.
yeah, it was actually pretty incredible. It was the first time in about 3 years that I was able to actually take the holidays completely to myself. I mean, minus my commitment here to the dojo, but this is what I love. And so for me, that was the best present to myself, was being able to quit my job and spend it with them. And it was great. It was a very good time. I can't, like, I have such that 50-pound backpack, it's gone. I'm able to focus on myself and, be healthy, live a healthy life. And like I said, I kind of, if I could hug you guys through the screen, I would, because you guys have completely transformed my life. And I know I had to take the first couple steps, but you guys were right there to help me through the process. And so I couldn't be, happier than I am right now.
That's awesome, man. Well, how many of you guys are feeling inspired by this right now? I mean, to me, that's why I do what I do. That's why John does what he does. And that's why, Mike, just being able to provide value to the people that you provide value to and you help and you coach, but then also be able to provide value to your family by being there physically and being able to support them financially. So if you're inspired by the story, go ahead and type inspired in the comments. If you've already typed inspired, you can still be inspired and type it again. That's okay. I hope there's some mental shifts happening about what's possible. So just show some love to Mike here in the comments. I just really hope that you're realizing that you don't need a whole marketing wing. You don't need a whole marketing budget in your drawer that you've been saving up for years. You don't need to be a guru or some sales strategist and have all these tactics to run a single Facebook ad. You don't need to be the right niche or anything. You just need to have good curriculum, care about your students, and then have the right simple Facebook ad in place. And I hope that you're seeing that. So if you're seeing those kind of light bulbs go off, go ahead and let us know in the chat. Because really, this is a beautiful thing to see. We have bulletin boards, John and I and Ignacio, we're always talking about this is why we do what we do. So we're so happy to share in your success. This is what kind of drives us and get us pumped up, because we really know it's just the beginning. When are you getting married? When's the day?
End of August.
End of August. Awesome. So 2022 is a huge year.
Yeah. It's a big year.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait till, you get married and after the wedding, that backpack is still that 50-pound backpack still in the closet. And this idea of 17 students is just so foreign to you. You have this whole new life. Because really that's really what this is about, everything that we do. Right. So, we're not just looking for school owners that are like, hey, I want to make a bunch of money. If you noticed during this interview, we really kind of use that as a measurement of growth for the business. But really the focus is people that are stuck at doing another job that they don't want to do, or stuck at doing a bunch of stuff that they don't know will do, and get to the point where they can focus on their passion full time and get to the point where financially it's feasible to do. And it's actually a safe decision to do. Those are the school owners that we love working with. So if that's you, I just wanted to invite you to a private call, same call that Mike went on. 15 minutes is all. Actually, usually it's a little bit less than 15 minutes. It's a totally free call. There's nothing for sale. You can't buy anything on this call. It's the same one Mike went through, just to kind of learn about our process and see what we're about and see if it was a good fit. And for Mike, it was a call to see if this would be a good fit for like a wrestling program. So that's how specific we want to be able to get on this call. So that way we can point out some blind spots that might be existing, or understand how, you could specifically grow in different game plans and strategies to help your specific situation. We might even take a peek at some of the current things you're doing, and really give you some strategies to implement. So if you're a school owner who has quality curriculum and you just want to get in front of more people in the community, get more people in the door, because we can be out in the community all we want, but ultimately we need them inside the building, just like Mike's done. What we're going to do is we're going to open up some limited spots. We only have a few spots throughout the week that we open this up to, about 15-minute game plan call with our specialist. So it'll be me or Ignacio. And again, we're just going to go over a few key details about your school, understand where you're at, and talk about some issues that you might be running into, and really cast a vision for what it would look like if you were to work directly with us. So really, again, it's a 15-minute call. All you have to do is type the word game in the comments, and Ignacio will probably be the one reaching out to you to schedule the call. He'll shoot you a message on Facebook. And that way we can definitely give you some answers and some clarity, because this call really just allows you to figure out, hey, is this something that would work, or is there something better that would work? So either way, you're going to get a ton of value. So for everyone watching, if you're a school owner and you want to dial in that same process that Mike has implemented to really triple his enrollment, break free of a full-time job that just was destroying just who he was, and be able to focus on his school and his family, then type game in the comments below and we'll hook you up with that game plan call. And then basically what that'll look like is Ignacio or myself will send you a message on Facebook. And if you don't see it, sometimes you might have to go to your message request folder or friend request us, and then it'll go through. But we want to open up that calendar so that way we can talk with you in the next, really tomorrow or the next day. And that way we can just give you some additional resources to help you out. So go in the comments right now, type game. And even if you're on the replay, type game, we're checking it. So back to you, Mike. I would just love to hear just really quickly, what are you really most excited about moving forward? Like, you've moved past kind of like this rut of, okay, is this going to work? Or am I going to, drive the truck forever? What are you most excited about? And we all know the wedding is the most, we can check that off the list. You don't feel like you got to make that, but right. That might be part of it. But what are you really most excited about really in 2022, this next year coming up?
I mean, besides being able to provide to my wrestling family, this location, and be able to basically take my profits and reinvest back into our equipment, our uniforms, our, mats, everything. Really, if I continue on this projected, year and everything, I will be able to expand. I will be able to get into a larger location beyond, getting married. That would be the next big thing, that I'm excited about. The way I justified this whole program in my head was, and everyone's situation is different. I needed to get 5 new students to pay for everything. And to, if I can land 5 new students, everything pays for itself. And that's my marketing budget for the month. After that, it's doing what it's supposed to do. And within the first week, I was able to reach my goal. And so after that, the sky's the limit. As long as you do what you're supposed to do, this works. And it has allowed me to be able to dream bigger than I ever thought I could dream before. And if you can dream it, you can do it. And that's the big thing. You have to, be willing to take that risk. And then, like everything else, you have to be willing to grow and realize that, your potential is set by you, and be willing to, put those goals out there.
I love that, man. That's huge, because it is about mindset, right? It's about seeing something that's a reality. And sometimes when we don't think it's a reality, we can't see it. So that's huge. I think that's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that, and really appreciate you being with us today. I mean, again, your school's beaming with students right now, so your time is valuable. And I can't wait to, John and I, we always want to travel and visit our school owners. So, and I've never actually been to Washington, so I'm excited at some point to travel out there. I can't wait to see you hit those goals and be able to get a new building and be with your family. I'm just really proud of you, man. I'm excited about your future, and I can't wait to continue to be a part of it. And just imagine really kind of being 2020, a year from now, really where you would be. So thanks for the inspiration. We saw some people on the call, so on the live stream. So really just, Mike is just one of the few success stories from our programs. We have a ton of them, right? He's just one of the examples of I'm not wording that correctly. Some of the things that Mike is saying is just a few examples of the success that we've seen. So it's been a long day.
It has been a long day. It has been a long day. I was hoping you were going to catch yourself on that because one of the few examples doesn't sound great. One of the many success stories sounds much better, and that's more accurate.
Yeah. So really, because I mean, like Mike said, the numbers don't lie. We can open up our books and show that, hey, it's over 15,000 students enrolled, over 300 schools that we've been helping. And really our vision is to create an army of schools that are just profitable, but also teaching good curriculum. And those things aren't, separate. You can teach good curriculum and be profitable. So if that's something that you're looking to do, just go ahead and type game in the comments. And what will happen next is we'll reach out, see if you're a good fit. And really just see, kind of go over what maybe obstacles you run into and dive into that. So from there, if it's a good fit, we'll talk to you about it and kind of go through that same process Mike went through. Again, if you want those systems and the same templates and literally the same process, jumping into a step-by-step thing to get your school, tripled in a few months and being able to do it full time and get revenue to where it needs to be. And you're considering, using that program or using that same process, go ahead in the comments and just type game right now. And we'll reach out to schedule a call. It's barely 15 minutes. It's usually about 10, 15 minutes top. So and there's nothing for sale on these calls. So it's really, there's nothing to lose, just jumping on a quick phone call to see if it's something that would be a good fit. And if it is, we'll send you some info and go over those next steps. So we'll keep an eye on those comments and we'll hook you up with that game plan. But Mike, thanks so much. It was really a pleasure. I was inspired. I'm continuing to be inspired by your story, man. I can't wait to hear about the wedding. Can't wait to hear about, the new location. But any final words before we wrap up?
Just put your anxiety aside and make that call. It's 10 minutes that will change your life.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I love that. 10 minutes will change. We should use that, John, on one of our ads.
We should. Nice. It's nice.
So if you haven't yet, go ahead and type game in the comments. We'll be reaching out. But thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for taking the time, Mike. Everyone, give Mike a big thanks for coming in here, sharing his story with what worked. I hope you were inspired. But again, so just to kind of wrap up, one more invitation. If you'd like to potentially work with us or really just figure out what's going on with your school, maybe like Mike, you've been for years trying to just figure it out, and you just need someone to kind of point out what's going on. Just go ahead and type game in the comments. And we'll reach out and see what's going on and kind of go over those things. You'll get a ton of insight into what's really going on at your school. And if it's something that we can help with, we'll talk about what that looks like. Because really our members are doing amazing things. Just like Mike, we have over 300 schools with the same story. So we'll say it one more time. Go ahead in the comments and type game right now and we'll reach out. But thanks for joining us today. We had an absolutely great time. And I hope people got value. I hope people were inspired. And we'll see you next week right here in the group. Have a great day, everybody.